What's up YouTube, how goes it? So today we're having a look at the newest and possibly smallest member of the Sonos family. I'm talking about none other than the Sonos Roam. This portable wireless speaker makes some pretty big claims. Sonos claims this is actually one of the best sounding portable speakers out there. And let's be honest, given how competitive the portable audio industry is, that's a pretty big claim to make, which is why in today's review we're going to see if this $160 speaker lives up to its hype and expectation, and of course if it can carry its weight. So as always guys, if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel. We got all kinds of awesome quality content. Let's get started. Starting with our mandatory unboxing experience, it's worth noting that Sonos always puts A+ effort in their packaging. Not only is this box environmentally friendly because it's made of entirely recycled paper, it's also got a nice design to it. So on the front you can see you actually have a graphical design of the Sonos Roam in the color we got it in. On the side you have some usual branding, and on the back side you have other information about the actual configuration of the device and its various compatibilities. Pretty cool stuff. Once we proceed to remove the paper content seal, which is located on the back side, there's two of them actually, the box will simply just glide right open. And the very first thing you'll see is the Sonos Roam neatly packed in this cloth wrap. And honestly, the quality of this is superb. I'm never disappointed when it comes to Sonos. Once you remove it from the cloth wrap, here you go, the Sonos Roam in this weird rounded triangular shape. I guess you could say Sonos cut no corners. Anyway, beyond that, we see that we also have a setup pouch. So inside this, of course, you have your quick start guide and instruction manual. You may want to give this a quick read because Sonos isn't that straightforward when it comes to using their devices for the initial setup. And of course, finally, you have a USB-A to USB-C charging cable, which is great to see because I'm a huge fan of USB-C, as many of you may already know if you watch the videos on my channel. And that's pretty much everything for the unboxing. So let's talk about the design of the Sonos Roam speaker. Honestly, I gotta give Sonos kudos. The design is a good balance between having this premium look but also looking portable and versatile at the exact same time. Weighing only 1 pound, this speaker is practically paperweight and you will not feel it in your backpack if you plan to carry it for prolonged periods of time. So honestly, the build quality is definitely there. Having a more detailed look at the actual speaker itself, you can see the front side is actually made of a metallic hard mesh grille, which honestly feels super premium. On the right side, you actually have the Sonos branding, and right next to it, you also have a status indicator light. This is to reflect the different statuses of the actual speaker itself. Furthermore, towards the bottom side, you do have 4 rubber grips. This is of course to keep the speaker in place. This is the intended position Sonos wants you to use the speaker in, but you can technically also use it as a vertical stand. Finally, you'll notice that on both sides you have a rubberized coating. This is of course to make sure that the speaker is fairly shock resistant and it can definitely survive a fall from arm's length. I unintentionally actually made that happen, so I know it works. Also, it's worth noting that you do have your media playback buttons on one of the sides. So you have your volume rockers, you also have the play pause button, and on the top you actually have the mic button, and directly above that you actually have a dedicated light for the mic mute and unmute status. Pretty cool stuff. Finally, on the back side of the actual speaker is where you have your USB-C charging port, and right next to that you'll see there's this unlabeled button. This is in fact the power button to turn the device on or off. For those of you who want to test the versatility of this actual speaker, you'll be happy to know it has an IP67 water resistant rating, which means you can definitely take this in the shower with you or have a couple of splashes come at it at the pool. It's going to be just fine. Also, it has a high dust resistance rating as well, so you can technically use this in a more dusty environment. Although I always like to say this with electronics, don't push your luck. It is intended to survive all that. Doesn't mean you should be putting exotic stress tests on it either, because Sonos will most likely not cover that under their warranty. Setting up the Sonos Roam is honestly the most unpleasant part of the overall experience. So that usually means you have to go through a mandatory setup process, which means you gotta install the Sonos S2 app on your iOS or Android phone. Once you do that, the app will detect the speaker and drive you through a quick setup experience. Of course, it's worth noting this only takes a couple of minutes if things go smoothly. However, the Sonos S2 app is fairly glitchy at times, and in case you run into any issues, just simply restart the setup process and you should be well on your way. With that being said, from a connectivity perspective, you have plenty of ways to connect to the Sonos Roam. So first and foremost, you have your good old-fashioned Bluetooth connection, and it'll work with any Bluetooth compatible device. You can also connect through your Wi-Fi via the Sonos S2 app. And lastly, yes, you do have native AirPlay 2 support, which means you can directly AirPlay your content onto the Sonos Roam. Oh, and did I mention you have native compatibility with Amazon Alexa and Google Assistant? To once again enable this, simply go on the S2 app and make sure you enable voice assistant. Enough with the red tape talk, let's talk about the real reason you're actually watching this review, which is of course to do with the sound quality. So from a technical specification point of view, the Sonos Roam has 2 amplifiers, 1 tweeter, and 1 woofer, which is in charge of the lows and mids. And I gotta be honest, let's start with the good stuff first. The Sonos Roam is a super loud speaker. It's actually amazing how much volume such a small body is pumping out. So much so that if you don't know any better, you'd actually think it's coming from a larger speaker. My own wife was actually confused because she thought it was coming from a larger speaker until I pointed out it's actually coming from the Sonos Roam. On top of that, you have phenomenal bass. So I mean, honestly, the amount of depth you have, it's just crazy how such a small body is pumping out this kind of bass. Anything from an engine rumble to a song with a lot of bass, you know, it's gonna sound amazing, and you've got amazing coverage. It's just great overall. Now, from a mid and high range perspective, I'm gonna be honest, the Sonos Roam speaker sounds good, but I wouldn't go as far as saying it's great or industry leading. It has a few problems going for it. First and foremost, I noticed that if you listen to anything with a lot of mid and high range above 70% volume, the distortion starts building up. Honestly, you can actually start hearing it, especially when you're above the 80% volume mark. It's so much so that it's actually comparable to a budget portable speaker. I was a little disappointed in this. I think the clarity starts going down drastically as the volume starts going higher. Of course, for the most part, you won't notice this in a more widespread setting. So if you keep Sonos Roam in a more larger room where the audio has more time to spread, the distortion actually doesn't seem to be as severe, versus in a smaller concentrated room, you can actually hear the distortion considerably more. All in all though, despite this, it still sounds really good, and if you take into account the large volume levels plus the fact that you have amazing bass with a decent amount of mids and highs, it's a very nice sounding speaker. And honestly, if the intention is to get as much audio coverage as possible, the Sonos Roam has got your back. Now, you're probably thinking, what kind of an idiot would actually make a sound product review without a sound test? Well, I'm glad to disappoint and tell you I'm not that kind of idiot. So I have taken a couple of copyright-free songs. Hopefully they're copyright. I'll find out by the time I upload this video. For your pleasure, have a quick listen and hopefully get a general idea of what kind of sound quality you can expect. As always, for best results, try using headphones.
Destroyed. Help me. Is anybody there? Save me. I'm running out of air.
A few other important things to note about the Sonos Roam. First and foremost, of course, is the fact that the Sonos Roam has its own version of an auto EQ per se, where it's actually able to use its microphone to determine the environment it's in and tune its sound. I believe this is called True Play. I enabled it. It wasn't as dramatic as I thought it would be. To me, the audio sounded more or less the same with or without True Play, but your mileage may vary. Also, it's worth noting that you can get up to 10 hours of battery life on a single charge as per Sonos. In my experience, I got approximately 8.5 to 9 hours on a single charge, but to be fair, I was keeping the volume level above 70% for most of the time. And given how powerful this speaker is in terms of its audio levels, that is a justifiable amount of battery life. The final thing worth noting with the Sonos Roam, and this is where I think Sonos did people dirty to be honest, is that this speaker actually doesn't play well with traditional 5-watt charging bricks. It will actually charge very slowly. Some Reddit users are saying you only get about 3% per hour if you use a 5-watt charging brick. I personally had a similar experience. Sonos actually recommends using a 7.5 watt or higher charging brick, but they don't make this abundantly clear. This is actually at the very bottom of the product description on their website. And again, it's one of those things, either include the charging brick or make it very clear that you need a certain type, because most people, believe it or not, still often own 5-watt charging bricks. Making it more clear would avoid a lot of technical issues that people run onto, and there's a whole thread on Reddit about this. But again, just keep these things in mind when you are purchasing the Sonos Roam. So what's my hot take on the Sonos Roam? Well, priced at $170 USD, this is definitely on the upper side of premium portable speakers. However, Sonos does do a fair bit to try and justify that price. For example, as I mentioned earlier, you have a super loud speaker here that's abnormally loud given its size. The sound quality is respectable. While I wouldn't call it industry leading because of the highs and mids, the low range and the overall volume level is very much amazing in every way of the word. Of course, you also have other great things going on, such as the connectivity option. The fact that you have Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and AirPlay to support all in one is, again, pretty nice, because not every portable speaker offers that in the first place. It's also competitive because you do have the IP67 rating, and it's a overall versatile speaker that doesn't look too rugged. It actually has a premium look, but actually performs very much like a rugged portable speaker, like let's say the Anker 2 would. Now, there are some things holding back the Sonos Roam, which I mentioned. For example, the highs and mids could be slightly better, an area of improvement for sure, less distortion and higher volume levels, and that clunky Sonos S2 app needs to be revamped entirely. It's got a lot of bugs. Setting up would have been a lot more convenient without it. Finally, it's worth noting that the inclusion of a charging brick would have been nice, and if there wasn't one, a outright disclaimer of what kind of charging brick you need would have also been nice. I know Sonos is trying to cut some corners there. I get it. But anyway, beyond that though, this is definitely a high quality speaker. I can recommend it as long as you look past the areas I mentioned and they're not going to interfere with your use case. So I hope you guys enjoyed my review. I hope you found this to be insightful. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel. We got all sorts of awesome quality content here. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Soul Tech, logging out.